the idea of structure and content. And this idea basically states that everything is driven by two forces: the structure of something and its content. So for example, water gets its shape from its container, and without the container it will be impossible for the water to even be seen or perceived. So you cannot transport water from point A to B without a container. You need the structure, which is the container, to hold it. Now, as soon as the water goes into the container, it assumes the shape of that container. So if your glass is square, your water will be square. And it's not just water, any liquid will take the shape of its container. Now, you will see that a human being, the shape of a human being, or any other animal for that matter, is determined by the skeletal structure of the human being. So that when your skeleton has both legs, your flesh doesn't have a choice but to follow this structure. And that's why, whilst we all look the same, we're all shaped in different ways based on the skeletons that we have. Take a car, for example. If you pull a car apart, you will see that it's made up of panels and frames. The frame determines its structure, and the structure determines the shape of the car. The frame is only just to follow, the panels are just to follow the frame, the structure of the frame, and to bring out the shape that has been formed by the frame. This is not different from the house you live in as well. Your house has its shape because somebody put the foundation in place, and the structure and shape of the foundation determines the shape of the overall house. Also, most houses will have pillars, and the pillars also help to determine the shape, and the blocks or the plastering literally just basically fill the spaces that have been created by the putting in place of this of these pillars, and the pillar in this case being the structure, and the cement and the blocks and everything else being the content. So that you will see that content in itself cannot exist by itself. For example, if we took out your skeleton, you will slump down into a bag of flesh, which is really not the way a human being is or is supposed to look. When you pull down the foundation and structures of a building, you will see that the building might actually collapse. So for anything actually to be complete, it needs these two structures to be in place. In business, you have departments, you have sub-departments, you have systems and processes, and then everything else that's done goes through this process. For water to reach you, again, it needs the structure of a pipe to travel from where it is to get to where it has to be. So when you look around in nature itself, you will see that structure and content is everywhere. Structure and content is everywhere. If you look at governments, we have different ministries, you have, sub-departments of the ministries. These things has to be in place in order for the content to be able to roll itself out. Now, with another example is that when you see cars moving, cars need the presence of a road in order to move conveniently. I think you will see that when cars don't have a road to move on, they have a bit of difficulty getting about. So the people who invented cars decided that we have to have roads, and that these roads must be smooth enough for the car to move conveniently. The nature of the road can determine how convenient or how easy it is for the car to move, and that tells us a lot about how the importance of a high quality structure. Because when the structure is wrong, it tends to affect the flow of the content. Okay, another example is a train and a train track. You can't possibly have a train moving around unless it has a track. So the track then is what determines where the train can go and where the train cannot go. When you don't have that track, you you have a huge problem of mobility. Now, one of the things that structure does is that it creates order, and we're going to treat order in another video because it's a very important subject as well. But where there's no order, what we have is chaos, and creation itself is a movement from chaos to order. And we'll see in the book of Genesis that when God wanted to create the world, the first thing he did was to put structure in place, and that should inform us that in everything we're doing, regardless of what you do, because don't forget, we've said before that what's above must be replicated below. And we will see somewhere along the line that the very nature of God is what we are supposed to be replicating, because we're built with the same qualities as God. And that if we're going to be able to maximize ourselves, we need to be able to replicate the nature of God and His excellence and His high performance, and it's the only way that we can reach our possible best.